Welcome back to the Padilla Family Homestead. We are here for Season 2, Episode 8 of Tea Time with Jen. We are talking about focusing. So
That's scary.
intentionally focusing. And there's a couple of different ways to take this one. So we're going to go over a few things. But as always, we always start with what tea we're drinking. And so my daughter has
My Arnold Palmer.
her Arnold Palmer.
I am set.
And I have a sugar cookie one. I'm not 100% sure on this one. Oh, it smells better now. The tea bag kind of smelled like
It looks interesting.
Play-Doh today, so I don't know. But it smells okay right now. So we'll see.
Why should
I've had it before and I've been iffy on it, but it's like a couple days before Christmas for this video, and so we want to make sure we have something yummy. Okay, so focusing. This can be a hard one.
This is difficult.
Very difficult. So we definitely have a lot of ADD, ADHD tendencies. At this point, neither of us have ever been like really diagnosed with anything.
Not quite yet.
But squirrel is a very real thing, and shiny thing is a very real thing in our household.
It's not even just that. Like, I have the amazing ability to hyper focus on random stuff, and then when it's important, I can't focus on shit at all.
Don't say bad words. So, anyways, we're going to talk about a few things here because I think this can hit in a couple of different ways, and so we want to make sure we touch on those. So, we have the actual act of focusing, right? And so, there's a few things that you can do to help with focusing, to train your brain. There are different people out there who have resources. I have a video that I'll link in the description below that you can watch on some things about focusing. But there are little things for me that I do because everybody has different things. Some people need to have like instrumental music play in the background. Some people need to have absolute quiet. Some people need to have things exactly where they've always been. Right? And so everybody kind of has their thing that they need. But the thing that I'm going to challenge you to do is to figure out what it is that you need. What is it that you need to help you focus? Because when we all have something different, for you to intentionally choose to focus on something is key. And I think sometimes we intentionally focus only if it's super important to us. If it is somebody's telling me something horrific that happened or a heartbreak item, right? Or there's an emergency taking place and you can focus during an emergency taking place, but you can't focus to do daily tasks. Well, that shows the capability of being able to focus, but are you intentionally choosing to be focused, and how are you approaching the importance of focusing? And all of that. And so I think there's a few things that go along with that, but figure out what are the things that are barriers to you focusing, and what are the things that help you to succeed. What are the things that are in those environments when you do succeed? What are those? So I am a person, when I am doing something, I hate lists.
I can't function without lists. If you try to verbally tell me a bunch of stuff, I'm like, you lost me after the first one.
So I hate lists for years. I've always said I hate lists, okay? I make lists all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, the act of, because I would go all over the place and forget everything, I hated lists because half the time I didn't complete the list. So what was the point of writing out the list? It showed me all the things I had to do and added to my stress and all of that. But now I make lists. I still don't necessarily like making lists because I still sometimes don't always complete the list. There's always that running list, right? Where there's always something being added. But those lists now help me to focus, because then I'm not going, I need to do dishes. Oh yes, before I do dishes, I start doing dishes and then I start the laundry. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm at the window and I'm looking out the window and I see I need to water my plants. Oh crap, I need to do that. So I stop doing the dishes and I go water the plants.
You should see me when I don't have a list. It's horrifying.
That age old thing where you're going through and we have so many things in the world now that take our attention. We have TV, we have cell phones, we have just people all over. There's all kinds of stuff going on the internet. So many things that take our focus away from us, right? And so I think sometimes it's important to intentionally take some of those away. So my ringer's always on silent.
Same.
I used to work retail. Had to have my cell phone on all times for alarms and things like that, just in case. But I don't have that anymore. So I don't have that the necessity to have that. And that helps me go, do you know what? If I'm not on my phone or I'm not next to my phone, I use my phone for a ton. I'm recording on my phone. I use my phone to watch YouTube most of the time. I have it up when I'm doing dishes. That actually helps me focus on doing the dishes or not focus on doing the dishes,
like
which
it
I'll get
takes
to
your
in a minute.
brain off of like the thought of it, and you're just like going and doing it.
Right. So there's a few things, but not having. I used to have TV play in the background all the time. I don't have TV play in the background all the time anymore. When I am sitting at the computer, I make a list of the things that I need to do and have done for the day. What blogs I need to write, what recipes I need to work on, all the things. That way I don't go, oh, what was that? And swirl and get like 5 things started and nothing completed. And so the list does help. It really does. Even if you don't complete it, at least as long as you check mark one thing off that list, you're better off than you were before.
It gives you that visual representation of like what you need to do. Yes, it can look daunting, but like for me, something that I've found really helpful is cutting it into like very small, tiny pieces for you to just be like, oh, this is gonna take me 5 minutes, bam, this is gonna take me 5 minutes, bam, and like you're checking it all off and you're like, oh, this can go quick, and it's like giving you hope and everything.
Well, and I think part of that is the different phases we're in, because for you it's the gratification of finishing, the fact that you can finish it, knowing what you're capable of.
That like if I know I need to get it done in that day, where it's like stuff like, oh, I need to really clean my shower and everything, or oh, I need to clean my room. Breaking up it into very tiny small pieces and everything, because I know, hey, I do need to get this done today and everything. This is at the top of my list. Yes, I have other stuff that I can do during the day, but this is what I need to tackle.
Because what happens if that doesn't happen is she gets stuck in memory lane cleaning out her closet.
Oh my gosh.
Or going
okay,
through,
hold on.
But she gets stuck.
So bad.
She gets stuck in memory lane going through, oh, I remember this book and I remember this, and she will squirrel. And so this is important for her.
Hold on, because I have come out of cleaning I've gotten halfway through cleaning my room, and like I'll come downstairs to throw stuff, like a trash bag out, and I'll have like reindeer antlers on, a sparkly skirt, and like something else on me, because I go deep down memory lane and I'm like, ooh. So bad.
This is an area,
I need a list.
This is an area in our life where we are definitely still working on in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Now, over the years, I have found tricks that help me with that, right? So writing things down, not assuming that I'm going to remember it. By taking something out of my brain, it's freeing up room for me to focus on what I actually need to do in that moment. Because what happens is you're so afraid you're going to forget to do this other thing that you're focused on that. And so training your mind on what you need to focus on is super important. The other thing is there's certain tasks that we don't like to do.
Yeah.
And so we hyper focus on the negativity and we don't focus on just doing it, right?
Yeah.
So this is where
you avoid it so long that it's just like you took up most of your day trying to avoid it, and now you have to do it, and you're like, I don't want to do it.
So this is like dishes for me. I hate doing dishes. It's the worst chore I have. But guess what? I cook all my meals from home basically. I am holiday baking. You have constantly, dishes are everywhere. Constantly have to do dishes. So for me, it makes it easier for me to stay focused on doing the dishes when I get to treat myself to watching a YouTube video. I put it up on the windowsill behind the sink, and I have certain videos, people that I watch during that time, and I choose the video on purpose. So like Acre Homestead, I really like to watch Acre Homestead while I'm doing dishes because she is always doing these big project days, all these cool things, and it inspires me to want to do something else in the kitchen. But to be able to do that other thing in the kitchen, I need to do the dishes. And she likes to clean up after herself as she goes consistently. So I watch something where I'm learning, but I'm also being inspired, and she's encouraging me to do what I'm doing at the time, right? And so choosing what you are doing to help you focus is really important. And anytime I do that, I pretty much stay there and do the dishes and I get it done. So that has been my trick for that. For computer work, it's writing the list out and checking it off as I go. Staying away from social media unless you have the free time to do it, because that Instagram reel rabbit hole, you can start with one and be there 45 minutes later going, oh my gosh, how many did I just watch? Like having that be for a certain period of time.
I've gotten there for like 2 hours straight and like thought it was only 5 minutes. I was like, oh wow.
Right. I post on Instagram and it auto posts to Facebook for me, so I don't have to go onto Facebook that often. There's things that you can set up to help you stay focused if you know you lose focus in certain areas.
Yeah. One for me that helps me focus, which is why you usually see me, like, I hold my tea in my hand usually. I, like, if you see me in public and everything, I will have a ring on, and sometimes it's my fidget one, because that is my favorite one. I have to constantly be fidgeting with something and everything, because if I'm not fidgeting, I will not be able to focus on you. I'm like, no matter how hard I try and everything, if I have something to fidget with and everything, whether it's my fingers and everything, or like a pencil or a pen, like, that's why I love the clicky ones, because I can roll it around in my fingers and just like click it, and I'll be able to focus on you. I'll be able to tune out the clicking, and I just can focus.
Yep.
And
then there's other things where you can, like, there's other times when you need to focus, like maybe in prayer or during worship at church. I sit in the front. Right now we don't sit in the front row, but I like to sit up front more. That way I'm not distracted by all the people in front of me. I'm focused on the people on the stage, right? Because then
that
I'm like,
one's one for me too.
That's a cute outfit. That's a crazy hairstyle. Like, my brain starts going, and I need to not do that. I'm there for a reason, right? And so that's important. But also during prayer, when my eyes are closed, we are very busy. As moms, we're always thinking of our kids. We're thinking about our husbands. We're thinking about, okay, so after church, I need to do this, or this sermon said this to me, and how can I implement this? And did I leave the laundry in the washing machine? Oh, I'm going to have to rerun it. Like, your brain, as soon as those eyes close, things start to, like, distract you, right? And so what I have found is visualizing. And I pray visualizing a cross, or during worship, I worship visualizing the cross. And that helps me to be able to focus. So choosing something to visualize. that was just a side note.
For me, like, it's when I'm worshiping or I'm praying, I visualize myself like hugging someone and their like forehead is against mine, and like I'm just like there worshiping Jesus and everything. Like Jesus has his forehead pressed against mine, so it's still that I'm not looking at anything around me. Feel, because if I'm looking at something, I get weirdly, like I just go on a weird thing.
I need some vanilla sugar in that tea, and I'd be set.
Yeah.
All right.
Figured it out.
So those are some tips. So what are your barriers? Pay attention to your body and your mind, and what are your barriers? What are your issues that you're having?
If you have to turn on some music, turn on some music.
Figure out the solution. And then also the next thing is, what are you focusing on? And this is the main topic. This is the main topic for this video, is what are you focusing on and choosing to focus on with intention. And we've hit on all kinds of different topics. We're going to be hitting on all kinds more. But are you choosing to focus on fear? Are you choosing to focus on thankfulness? Are you choosing to focus on the things you're stressing about? Or are you choosing to focus on solutions? Are you choosing to focus on somebody's negative qualities? Or are you choosing to focus on the positive qualities? Are you choosing to focus on things that you cannot have any control over and cannot fix? Or are you choosing to focus on learning a new skill to create a solution to solve the problem, right? And so it's not ignoring the negative, and it's not
just choosing not to focus on it, like hyper focusing.
Right. It's not ignoring it. It is not dismissing it. It is not giving it value, because these things have value. That the fact that somebody could lose a job, that has value. The fact that somebody has stress and somebody is sick, that has value in your life. These things have value. But what power do they have? And
are you giving them power?
Are you giving them power? And at the same time, what can you do about it? And so, for instance, this is just going to be for instance, with the state of the world in the way it has been, is the grocery prices, the gas prices over the last multiple years have been out of whack, and life has been it's been way harder to afford things. There's been a lot of uncertainties when it comes to stuff. Different times there's been different wars, different things taking place, different viruses happening. There's all kinds of stuff, right, that has things that can cause us to focus on them, right? And during those times, right, do I focus on the groceries? I need to focus on what I'm buying. So my first goal is, what is healthy for my family, right? Trying to put the healthiest food as possible into play for our family. I can't afford certain things. That's just fact. There are certain things we cannot afford. So then I have to go around and I have to decide, what can I do? So that's what I focus on. I can't focus on the things I can't change, right? There's things that we can do to earn more income, yes. There's things that we can do to solve certain problems, yes. But some of those are not quick fixes. And so being able to go around and go, okay, so for my family, we're buying bulk quality grains, we're buying bulk spices, we're buying bulk what we can, and then I sourced as quality of meat that I can afford at that time, right? And I'm sourcing the quality fresh produce that I can afford at that time. I'm focusing my energy. I cannot grow a ton of stuff in my yard. I live in an apartment. We have 3 GreenStalk towers. I do not get 8 to 15 hours of sun in this area. I have a shorter window. In the winter, it's way shorter. So even though I'm zone 9B and can grow all kinds of stuff through the winter, I have to be selective on what I'm growing. I cannot grow huge heirloom tomatoes out there. I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on green beans. I'm going to focus on growing my greens through the winter. I'm going to focus on growing peas. I'm going to focus on root vegetables. Whatever I can do is where I'm going to focus there. And then I will change the focus of the tomatoes and everything else from sourcing them from quality other areas. And so it changes it to a positive perspective on how we focus it. I focus on what I can do, on what I can source, on what I can cook, on what is available around me, what I can buy bulk, what I can afford, and that helps. Gas. I mean, gas is just gas. That's just the price. So for me, I mean, having an 18-year-old and having lots of events and stuff, due to health stuff, she doesn't have her license yet.
Yeah.
But we're chauffeurs, but we try to plan our using our gas wisely, right? So if I'm dropping her off at college, then I can make a stop on the way, right? Or on the way back and use that instead of making a separate trip. I'm focusing on where my money is going. I'm focusing on scheduling my time out appropriately. And in the case of the world and a lot of the uncertainties, there's a lot of things I cannot do here in an apartment. I can't raise chickens. I can't have a cow. I can't have goats, you know? Like there's certain things
as a baby goat would be, we can't have that.
Those certain things I cannot do again, right? But what I can do is I can learn. I have learned new skill sets. I can learn how to can. I can learn how to preserve food. I can learn how to stock a pantry. I can learn how to crochet, which I know how to do. I can learn how to create different projects in crochet. I can learn how to actually sew clothes that are going to stand up and not rip the first time you wear them. I can learn how to make soaps. I can learn how to make different shampoos. I can learn how to make different skincare items. I can learn how to make herbal remedies. Yep. I can learn these things. These are things that I can focus on.
Knowledge is power.
Instead of focusing on the fear of what is coming, I can focus on the solutions. I can focus on the skills. I can focus on what I have tangible control over that I can do, right? Instead of focusing on the negatives, instead of focusing on the things that are out of my control. It's important to know what's going on out here.
Yeah, it's important to stay aware, have an awareness of your surroundings, have an awareness of everything going on, but learning not to hyper focus on it and saying, hey, what can I do for myself? Because it's one of those things, it's like in a situation, like in a conversation, like you can't control someone else, but you can control how you respond to them and everything. In this case, you can't control everything around you, but you can control how you respond to it. You can control your ability to learn and everything. You can control your ability to really educate yourself.
Well, and you can control your response, and that's the thing, is when you get in the habit of choosing what you're focusing on intentionally, then it becomes easier to do that with intention. Because sometimes we knee-jerk focus on certain things. Some people focus on the negative super fast. Some people focus on the crisis. Some people focus on all the things that they cannot control. Some people focus on other people's actions in what they're doing. And that is the knee-jerk. That is the norm, right? And in the past, my mind has focused on way different things than what it focuses now. Now, when my husband's injury is what it is, or the employment status, or the somebody gets another health issue, or whatever it is, I don't focus on the freak out. I don't focus on the fear. I don't focus on all of these other things. I focus on, okay, I choose, first of all, I stop, I pause, and I think. That's the first thing I do now, okay? And that is, you take it and you think. And I look at it and I go, what is the truth here? What is the situation? What is going on? What is the circumstances? What's the events? What has control? What doesn't have control? All of those things. And I take note of all of that. And then I go, what do I have control over? What things can I change? What things do I need to start doing? What solutions can solve the whole problem? And go from there. And then when I do that, then I'm doing that with intention now. Now I know what I'm focusing on, and I'm doing it for a good reason, and I have a why. And that to me is very different than what I used to be. That is very different than how my brain used to process things. And so I find it easier for me to focus on the task at hand now than I did 5-10 years ago. I find it easier for me to complete tasks now than I did 5 or 10 years ago. And that is because I have put these things into practice. And I've always known that you need to focus on things. And sometimes how to focus or how my brain worked, I didn't quite understand. And I didn't understand how important it was, the environment you're doing things in, making choices. Do I really have the freedom to make the choices? Do I have the freedom to focus on these things? And that's, we've kind of talked in other videos about pasts and all kinds of stuff, but focusing in the past, and I don't remember if I've done it, I don't know, but in the past, I have spent many years in survival mode. And being in survival mode, you focus on survival. You focus on filling immediate needs, putting out the fires immediately. You're not focused on fire prevention. You're focused on firefighting, right? And so there's different seasons in your life where you get to be focused on different things. I'm not in the firefighting season right now. I am in the fire prevention season. And this fire prevention season that I have been in for the last few years has made it to where when fires do start,
easier to put them out.
It's easier to put them out, or they don't even take hold, right? And they don't have a catastrophic impact in my life the same way, because I have been able to focus differently on things, and I've been able to think about things differently, implement things in my life differently, and really focusing on the I cans instead of the I can'ts. And focusing on, I can learn this, I can do this, I'm in control of this. These things I cannot, so I need to let them go, right? These things, I need to be aware of them, but they're not going to have power here as much as possible. And then focus on mindset, focusing on where I am in how I'm letting things sink in, how I interact with people. In my knee-jerk, I'm not perfect at this. I will still get snappy. I will still be knee-jerk, come out sometimes like, what the heck? And then have to come back around. But focusing on how you respond to people, focusing on how you're interacting, focusing on what impact you're leaving in their life. And doing that as a parent, that's been definite different phases. And I was not as intentional when she was little at first. And then as she has grown, I've become more intentional. And now I'm at a different phase, because I feel like for the last many years, we've been intentional.
I feel like it really truly started when I was probably, at least for me, When I was probably around like 14 or 15.
I was intentional way before then. But you weren't aware of a lot of the things. And so, we didn't start talking about it more until she was like 15, 16. Mm-hmm. And so, that's when the intentionality became known. There's a lot of stuff in the background that was not known. So, and that's the other thing is when you start living your life intentionally focusing on things and you're making shifts in your life, remember you are focusing on learning skills. You are focusing on these things. Not everybody else is going to be doing it at the same time, but people will learn. They will see that you do it and they will learn. They're going to see that you are intentionally focusing on your health. They're going to see that you're focusing on how you're sourcing your food. They're going to see how you're focusing on all kinds of stuff, how you interact with people. They're going to see that you're focusing on the positive and not the negative, and that will become contagious. People are going to start noticing and people will start asking questions. Your kids will start to see it. More than saying anything, your actions are going to prove so much. And so, and that's how we teach, right? And that's how we pass these things on. And so, for me, I think that's the big thing I want to talk about with focusing is, yes, there's all kinds of things about how to focus. And I'm not an expert at that. Everybody's brains work differently. I know how my brain works. She knows how her brain works.
And sometimes we need different things because health isn't one size fits all. The way our brains are wired isn't one size fits all either.
Right. And I mean, there's foods you can eat to help you focus better. There's foods you can stop eating to help you focus better. There's all kinds of things out there that can help you to be able to focus. But I think it's important that for you to, once you know how to focus, what is it that you're focusing on? Like,
one thing I need to focus is coffee. That helps me focus. It helps my brain slow down.
Mm-hmm. So, I drink decaf, so it is what it is.
Poor unfortunate soul.
So, find out what it is that helps you to focus, but then also really decide what you're focusing on. And that's really big with this whole topic of living with intention, right? Living all of the pieces of our life. How are we living with our food with intention? How are we dealing with our mindset with intention? How are we dealing with people with intention? How are we dealing with our surroundings and the earth around us with intention? How are we learning with intention? When you realize all of these things and you really start jumping into learning with intention, into living with intention, you are going to want to change everything all at once. And that's
baby steps.
It's going to be hard.
Take the baby steps.
So focus on 1, 2, I would say max 3 areas where you are focusing and choose one item in those areas, right? So maybe I'm going to focus on food, right? When I'm cooking at home. Pick one item in that area, learn it, figure it out. At the same time you're focusing on food though, you could be focusing on gardening at the same time, right? And being able to produce some stuff. And so focus on a little bit there, start small. So at the same time, you could be focusing on every night my dishes are going to be put away. Okay, done. That is household stuff. And so focusing on that. But don't do everything has to be perfect every single night. Every meal has to be home cooked right away.
Yeah.
Everything has to be grown out of the garden right away. It's you're gonna go crazy trying to focus on that. So focus on a couple of things, one in each category of these areas, and then see what you can do. And if that's too much, cut it down. Mm-hmm. And set yourself up for success, because as soon as you get this down and this becomes a habit, then it's no longer something you have to focus on. it becomes natural, right? And you can focus your attention, your learning attention, you're creating a habit attention onto something else.
But not even just that. Like you were saying, one was the food, and then you also did gardening, and then you also did dishes. Maybe, because all those can be intertwined, because in order to have food, you garden and everything, and in order to clean up after the food, you do dishes and everything. So maybe not just, like if you're going to do a few at a time, do stuff that's kind of interconnected and everything. I feel like it makes it a bit easier.
Right. And then once you're done with, like, you're staying up on the dishes, it's...
And then maybe add maybe a little one.
Yeah.
After that.
And then it's, like...
Just slowly add.
Every couple of days, every time you get out of the car, you take something out of the car with you if you have a messy car. Or you make your bed in the morning. Not everybody does that. And...
I have a hard time with that.
Making sure that you are maybe scheduling your trips better to save gas, or sourcing food differently. Like, everybody does things differently. These are just a few of the topics. So figure out what it is for you and in your lifestyle and where you are, and how your brain works, and what are the things that are important to you, and decide how you're going to focus and what you're focusing on, and take the baby steps, but start implementing it, and it will help. And the more you do it, the more confidence you get, and the more you believe that you can do it. And that mindset is super, super important. Do you have anything else to add on this? Okay, sounds good. Well, that's how we're going to leave you guys. It's just food for thought with this. Choosing to focus with intention. Again, I'll have that link in the description below. There was a video my mom showed me about focusing, so I'll link that in the video below. And then also just really I think so, just really look at what you are, what's important to you, what's your why, what are the things that are this whole series is bringing up. What are the things that are important to you? What are you working towards? How can you do it? And to make any implements into these, you're going to have to focus on them. So how do you focus? How do you work with your brain? And then what are you focusing on? And that's it. We'll see you guys on the next video. Have a good day.